Hey, what's going on, crypto people? What the world? It's Talk That Talk Thursday. What the world's going? What the world was Vitalik Buterin thinking? Uh, Stephen Nerayoff, he dropped it. He dropped this what almost 3 hours recording with him and Vitalik Buterin. Listen, I only listened to the first few minutes of this thing, but what the world? Whoa, crazy. Looks like dude got taken advantage of. Look like it's just not great. It's not a great look. We're gonna get into that. I mean, man, what the world? Oh man, I couldn't think of a better thing to do than on Talk Type Talk Thursday than to deal with this none because this could very well lead to perhaps the biggest. I don't know. This feels bigger than SBF to me. Feels bigger than that. Some bad people got involved in this foundation. Good Lord, what the world? Not great. Not great. The real big will is in the building. What's going on, bro? Helis is in the house. Hey, miss, how are you? Good to see you. Look, I was gonna go over some other stuff, but I mean, I think we got to go over this. We got to go over the recording. We got to go over this little NFT thing. I don't know why people are trying to sell this thing for 1,000 Matic, 100,000 Matic. I don't know what's up with that. I'm not buying it. It was supposed to come on the that NFT was supposed to come out on the XRPL. I didn't see it. What's going on, Alex G? What's going on, bro? Good to see you. Look, this recording is a bombshell. We're going to get really into it. Phantom Beat is here. What's going on, bro? Life is good. The Blue Renters are in the building. This recording, I got it for you. It's crazy. Stephen Nerayoff said he was going to release it as an NFT. I find that interestingly fascinating because as an NFT, it's on the blockchain now. It ain't going anywhere. And I don't know if this is something someone would one day be willing to pay for. I don't know. Yeah, there's some people buying this thing. There are people buying it. I don't know why, but people are buying it. I'm not buying it, that recording. I guess maybe people think that this somewhere along the lines, this is going to be something valuable. You know, crazy. Yeah. Well, yeah. So I got it. I don't know. I got it, but I'm not interested in NFT. I don't think I got an NFT. I just have the recording. We're gonna share that. We're gonna get into that because this craziness. We got to get right into it. Hopefully, the sound is going to be okay for you guys so you can hear this. Let's get into it. It's Talk That Talk Thursday with CryptoCeej and the fam. Look, I always felt like Vitalik just kind of got roughshod. How is Vitalik dealing with Lubin? I mean, he's talking about a teenager, a young guy, you know, over his head. And yeah, you could just tell that Lubin, just not a great dude at all. Let's see if I got this for you guys.
Hello?
Hello, there you are. I can hear you.
Oh, okay, I have my headset on, but I guess my headset's not working. Can you hear me? Now you can hear me? Okay. Oh, okay. How are you?
I'm good.
Tired? I'm doing well, thanks.
Less tired than I look like.
Yeah.
That's good.
So you tell me where you want to go, how I can be helpful.
I know that I know you've been working with Anthony and I the last couple of weeks, so you probably know some of where at least we are in terms of Ethereum. As far as where as far as where we are on the development side, things are actually going quite well on that front. We're about maybe 6 or 7 weeks away from launch. So hopefully, you know, at the end of March, we'll finally be able to get it out, and it's looking quite good. So,
Okay.
but and the sort of the issues that we have that still remain are probably the issues that still remain are probably much more on the organizational side, for at least for us. So we have we're planning on having a meeting at the end of this month in Switzerland, where we're going to theoretically everyone from Foundation leadership is going to be there, and everyone, well, including myself, Gavin, Anthony, Mihai, Taylor, and so forth. And I think that will some kind of arrangements that will make sure things go well on that front. Again, so one of the ideas that we've had is that we really basically lack. I mean, first of all, we kind of lack boots on the ground in Switzerland that are able to help us. That are able to help with things like maintaining a team in Switzerland, which we're supposed to do, and so forth. And part of the reason behind that is, basically no one's particularly interested in being in Switzerland at this point, and it seems and also there's no one who's currently on the leadership right now that really has exactly the right skills to do stuff like bookkeeping, accounting, interfacing with lawyers, and so forth. So it just seems like the sort of task where we just need to find like one or two good people, either one full-time, several part-time, that would be able to take over something like this. But issue is that none of us are particularly well connected in Switzerland, and so I know Anthony and me have been trying to get people. We've been trying a bit on our own. I've been trying a bit, and haven't had that much success yet. Yeah, so that's basically how things on the Ethereum side.
Well, so I've been speaking to Anthony. I've gotten some kind of tidbits here and there. Not 100% sure what's correct or not, so I'll, I'm very straight, so I'll come to you with it. And Anthony asked me, the discussion with him was a little broader, I think. And he said, there's something. He was pretty clear that he's, if this thing isn't fixed, I don't think he wants to hang around. And so I kind of made a list of what I thought, what I think the issues are. And he asked me, he said, how would you restructure this? I said, okay. So I said, I had an idea of how I would have done this from the initial, but this is different. So you're in a different ball game now. And I first and foremost, I think everybody's kind of looking at, I think, do you want me to just tell you my thoughts on it? Okay, all right. So I'm just going to just hit you straight with it. And you may like it, you may not. I don't know, but it's the reality as I see it. A lot of people are looking at this as whether or not the ether is going to be valuable or not. And
by a lot of people, you mean internal or external?
Both.
Right.
Now, on the external side, you've got, to my understanding, about 9,000 people that participated. a lot in the States. If you don't, you raised, you know, 30,000 or so Bitcoin. And you made a lot of promises in both in terms of condition, in terms of sales, rather, whatever. Also publicly, was a lot of rhetoric, so to speak, that I think was done and with good intention, but I'm not sure if you're going to be able to live up to them. And there were also a lot of issues, some other issues, but so there's those people. And then there's some issues surrounding the Ether price that are pretty vital around that. Those issues, I broke it down, by the way. Here, let me just tell you how I broke it down. I broke it down into the Swiss org. I broke it down into funding. And then I broke it down into reorg. And then I broke it down into a final topic of legal. But this was the not pleasant legal. The rest of legal is kind of mixed into all the other stuff. When I say the not pleasant legal, I mean tripping over the securities regulations, tax regulations, money transfer regulations, transfer pricing regulations, personnel conduct regulations. So there's all these different stuff. Okay, so my take on it from a broad scope is that, first of all, the way that folks are looking at it, because when I've talked to quite a number of people over the past number of months, and everybody's kind of just, like I said, internally very focused on what their Ether is going to be worth. And really at this point in time, that was all well and good at the beginning. Right now, at this point in time, the focus should not be on the Ether at all. Really, it should be on whether or not the organization is going to be able to survive. And it actually shouldn't be. There was a lot of fear and greed that drove it early on. Right now, I don't see a lot of fear, and I thought a lot of it was unnecessary early on with the right structures. And right now, I actually think there is reason to be concerned. And so people shouldn't be looking at their upside, they should be looking down. What are the potential downsides right now of everything that's occurred? So I'll go through these in general. My take is that I don't know how much is left in terms of by rough calculations. I'm guessing there's at current prices with $3, $4, $5 million left worth of Ether. I'm sorry, worth of Bitcoin.
Of Bitcoin and fiat together. Hold on, I think we have about somewhere from 11 to 12,000 BTC, which is in the roughly in the 2.7 to 3 million range, and then we have, I think, somewhere between 1.5 and 2 million fiat on top of that.
Okay, so
about 4.5 would be my guess.
Okay. All right, so I mean, I can send this to you after, but let me just kind of go in some. First of all, I want to kind of just go over some things that are personally very disturbing to me that I want to just bring to your attention. The fact that the position wasn't hedged, in my opinion, is inexcusable. Absolutely inexcusable. I don't care, by the way, I don't care if BTC went to 2,000. The point of this wasn't to ride BTC. It was to make sure you had enough money to see this thing through 1.0 and then do development on 2.0 as well, while you maintain 1.0. And then also be able to develop some of your own dApps, be able to encourage other people doing their dApps, and you don't want to launch this, it's like Xbox launching without any games. I mean, that's great. And from my take on the marketplace also is that the lead that was once had out there isn't that same lead. And there's a lot of questions out there. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm saying, I mean, if I thought this was a completely lost cause, I wouldn't bother going into this. I just say something you can do. But I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I'm telling you, I think you guys are in, I think it's crisis time. And I'll go over the reasons why. I think it's hard for me to imagine that there haven't been a lot of wires tripped on the legal side. You should be particularly concerned because of two reasons. Number one, and I told you point blank, I had heard from on the inside that they wanted to send all of those letters out to the Ethereum guys, but because of the opinion, they weren't able to. Specifically, they wanted also to hit you. And it's nothing personal, but you're the face of the company. And Charles isn't around anymore. So that would be issue one. And the issue two is that there were decisions that were made that you were put in a position to make. Something it's still baffling that people had the wherewithal to make to put you in that situation, but nevertheless they did, and you made the decisions. And so those decisions, they look to see who made the decisions where things went. So they get that points not only to you. I think some of it's going to point, obviously, probably to Joe. And you put together the terms and conditions and had a lot of dealings with the money and what have you. But anybody who's made the decisions got trouble. And so you have a seal. I'm trying not to talk about individual people too much. Because I don't think your issues are as simple as hiring a person or two. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you want me to talk to you about that, that's fine. I think it's a waste of your time and mine. Mm-hmm. Because I think, well, go ahead.
So I mean, the issue is if they're solvable at all, three ways of doing it. One way is to tell the existing people to act in a very different ways. The other way is to add people. Third way is to remove people. So,
right. I think there's only one. And that's number 3.
Right.
In conjunction with a complete a total restructure of the entire org. Mm-hmm. And I can go into like what that is.
Mm-hmm. That would be helpful,
but at this point, I think you need to view this as Apple. When Steve Jobs came back, the problem with the handicap and the fact that you don't have some of the goodwill, and that Apple did have success at one point. You didn't have that. You had the promise of success and a lot of excitement, and I still see a lot of excitement out there. It's just there's also a lot of other competition out there. And well-heeled competition that you didn't have before. And a lot of big name players getting involved into the game. And so, and a lot of people, frankly, I think, you turned them on to a lot of this stuff. So, that's great. You don't want to be known as the guy who turned on to people whose organization went under, and then you got into legal issues. And you sure as hell, and again, I'm not trying to yell fire in a theater, but there's a fire. As far as I see it, there's really a fire here. It's a systemic issue. This is not. So you can't tip dance around this. I've seen it too many times. Frankly, I feel like the people that are on board right now are, for the most part, tend to be very self-serving. Mm-hmm. They tend to be Now, I'm not going to talk about the tech. I'm going to ask questions on the technical side. So I'm not really talking about people's technical expertise, and so I'm not getting to Gavin or Jeff's technical expertise and what they're doing. Nor do I question your technical expertise, but I will question people on that side. But that's really you have to give me some more information. But on the others, the rest of it, I have a pretty decent understanding of it. I think at this point from talking to everybody. And they are incompetent at best, and that's the good end of it. The bad end of it is they've been to some extent it's been malicious, self-serving. They're looking for their own gains. They really don't give a damn about Ethereum per se. It's great that it takes off or not, but they're just going along for the ride. You can go through specific examples, and then the rest of it. I mean, I like I've told you, when I came there and I saw the people, I didn't under. I mean, I on one hand, I was very impressed about how you handled it in terms of being so egalitarian and giving everybody ownership and what have you. But the problem is that I think you had your heart was really in the right place, but you just gave it to the wrong people. And then the structure that was set up was not a sustainable structure. Plus, the reorganization into a nonprofit actually not only doesn't give people incentive for Ethereum to succeed, Ethereum proper to succeed, so to speak. It actually incentivizes them now. The Ether is not. I mean, it's some incentive, but it's really a minor incentive. That's not a long-term incentive. It's like saying, I own some Bitcoin, but I need to see Bitcoin succeed, rather than saying I have a Bitcoin business. That's a much different thing. And so that's really where you've got them all. So that's why you see everybody's off on doing their own thing. Everybody's, nobody's really kind of stuck around. They come in, they chime in from time to time. And the bottom line is, what I'm seeing from an insider perspective, so I've got this kind of unusual view, is that I'm seeing people just utilizing the Ethereum name and your name, and still Charles's name to a certain extent, I don't know if you were aware, but Charles was here recently. And
New York?
Yeah, he was in New York. He was just on his way to Asia, and Jonathan sent out. He was having one of his meetups, and in there he mentioned, Charles Hoskinson. He didn't say Ethereum, and I went to the meetup, and there was a mob around him, a little mob. The same thing that you experienced, and so there's a lot of people I just kind of chimed in to listen to what he was talking about. And a lot of people were asking about Ethereum. I saw him punt on those questions. He was very good about it. He was not derogatory to the company at all. He handled it with class, and did the best that he could, because I think he still cares about. I think a lot of these people had bought Ether, and so I think you have to remember, a lot of these people, and I've talked to some of them, they're not wealthy people. They're people that have come in, that are, young people that have sold their Bitcoin and put their savings into this, thinking this is the next best thing. And so these people are not going to be happy if this thing goes below par, so to speak. So one issue is, you must not only keep the organization going, you must keep Ether above par. That's really important. That doesn't mean that you didn't trip. I'm fairly convinced that securities laws and these other laws have been tripped. The question, though, is anybody going to come after you? And the likelihood of that diminishes greatly if the price of Ether stays above par and people don't lose money. That's a tough thing to do unless you deliver, some really astounding products. I did some. So all right. So I think I'm gonna talk about Swiss centralization. So with that being, everything that I just said, First of all, I think because you're stuck with certain structures. Now, I do think you need to relook and turn this into. You have to decide, first of all, whether or not you're willing to do what it takes here. You have to decide whether or not the organization is more important than any individual. You know, when Steve Jobs came back, it's really instructive. When he came back, you know, there were 15 different divisions in Apple doing 15 different things, and a lot of them were really interesting and fun. And there were a lot of really smart people, but at some point he just said, look, we can focus on this, this, and this, and that's it. That's all the cash we have. And then he had to go and get outside resources, and Bill Gates, in particular, to fund the company. And then he had to laser focus. And it was bloody. And a lot of people were really angry at him. But he was right, and he saved the company. And it was a Hail Mary. Don't make me wrong. It was a Hail Mary. And then I think you're in a Hail Mary, you're almost at Hail Mary standpoint. Part of the fact that you're at Hail Mary standpoint is the structure. Part of it is the fact that nobody hedged this position. I mean, I was floored when I heard that. When I spoke to Anthony and I said, well, you know, the position has been hedged. And the reason I asked them that was that when Joe and Charles were here, they had told me that they had a couple of different agreements that negotiated. I remember there was one in Israel, and I think one in Germany or Netherlands or something like that, or where they, you know, somewhere between $500,000 to a few $100,000 fiat in order to hedge the position at like 5 something. And so I assumed you guys were all hedged at 5 something, and Anthony said no, none of the position has been hedged. Frankly, I'm not 100% sure who made those decisions. Whoever made those decisions.
There was never a decision made not to hedge. It was just really, I mean, basically a really huge amount of inertia is probably the only way you could describe it.
Well, no, somebody was in charge of that. Who was in charge of handling the money? Whoever was in charge of that, I mean, that's inexcusable. That's really, they put the entire organization in jeopardy.
So in terms of who handled the money, so I will try to answer that question. So the cold wallet is in charge of, is under the control of basically 4 centers, one in Switzerland, one myself, one Gavin, one in Toronto. We were talking about hedging all the way starting from September. Well, it wouldn't be hedging really so much as selling, because you know we want to have exposure to USD instead of BTC, and a lot of our payment is in fiat. So the simplest approach would be just get the fiat. So we ended up basically, I kind of ended up in trying to entrust Joe to the task of managing selling BTC, and he started doing it, but he was just doing it sort of 50, 100 BTC here, 100 BTC next week, 100 BTC the week after that, and like basically what happened was that he continued with his approach, where he was really insistent that Bitcoin would go way up after some period of time. So it's smart. It would be smart for us to hold on to BTC, and a large part of the blame probably is on myself for just not being nearly pushy enough to resist him.
Okay, so here's my thought on that. Again, if I didn't care about you as much as I do, and what you're trying to achieve, but you as a person, I really like you. I mean, I really do, and I think we've been, I consider you a friend at this point. I wouldn't be hitting you so straight. I'd be talking a lot more politely and whatever. But I'm doing that, so take it in that vein. Understand that that's where it's coming from. So ultimately speaking, yeah, you're to blame for all of this. On the other hand, you've never done this before. And for all the brilliance that you've come up with, running a company is not something that comes natural to anybody. It's something that you learn.
Right. I think that probably, yeah, if I had to describe my faults, it would be that I was basically trying to abdicate responsibility the whole time, and I think because I didn't really want it, and I guess there's no one else. First of all, there was no one else who was clearly taking it from me. And
Yeah, well, yeah, no, and I only say that because and in a way, I'm giving you a little bit of a door out because you brought on some people that were supposedly that claimed they had the expertise. Now, Joe ran a goddamn hedge fund.
Mhm.
There's a word in the fund called hedge.
Yeah.
You had a guy who was handling this that ran a hedge fund for 8 years and didn't hedge your position. I mean, you had your upside. That was the beauty of the hedge. The hedge was just a put. So you had all the upside with none of the downside. And you guys, the beauty of it is everybody else right now is in pain. And so are you guys. But nobody else, you would have been able to clean up. And who knows what kind of talent you would have been able to scoop up. Instead of 4.5 million, you'd probably be at 12 million right now. And then if Ether went to 1,000, you guys would, it actually would have been better for it to go down because you guys would have been stronger amongst a bunch of weak players as opposed to being strong with a bunch of strong players. But in either way, you would have been protected. So to me, that is just beyond inexcusable. And the people didn't give you the money. They gave you enough money. And now you don't have, frankly, you don't have enough money. 4.5 million is not enough to accomplish what you need to accomplish. So you have to, you see, nobody wants to move to Switzerland. So I think right now having people what they want, I think is irrelevant. So I'm going to just go through some steps. First of all, I would probably strip everybody of their Ether. The Ether was supposed to, I know, because I know things that were told to me, and then I know what showed up in various documents. That Ether was supposed to vest. I remember that clearly. That was supposed to vest over like 3 or 4 years. And it just giving, if you notice, I don't know if you do know this or not, I never took my Ether. I just didn't feel like it was the right thing to do. And I think anybody that was part of this, and I think I pulled my weight and did what I was supposed to do, but
and you did.
I mean, frankly, it was some of the Ether that was given to some people was almost, you should have I think it was better not to have given them rather than give them like $3,000 or $2,000 or $1,000 worth. It almost was like, it's better to just say, thank you, we appreciated what you were doing, or give them something substantial, one or the other. But I was, whatever. I would strip everybody of their Ether right now. And because that's a protection for the company. It's a protection for the people themselves. Like I said, people looking at the value of their Ether, they should be more concerned about staying out of prison at this point in time. Because the Ether goes down, and it's also better if people don't have that Ether. At least they can say, I didn't profit from this in any way, because there are people that are trying to sell their Ether on the third market. There's that one guy that created that little, coin, and so there's a lot of people that want to just dump the Ether within the organization. So don't. By the way, I'm also going to say I believe the restructuring was a huge mistake. I know Charles has his downside. I'm very aware of Charles's strengths and weaknesses, and I'm aware that he has both. But he was the closest thing you had to both a strategic person, and you don't have an asshole. You don't have one jerk on board that can be the jerk and that can actually make the tough decisions, and then it gets thrown to you. Right. And you really shouldn't be put in that position because you need to be able to galvanize people around you. And so the other thing I would do is I would terminate virtually everybody on. I would basically come with deals and get rid of everybody on the founding team, with the exception of you. I would keep Anthony on a board level. I would figure out a way to turn this back into a new entity A new for-profit Swiss entity. You made a lot of promises. Is that some people in the background? I'm just having a little hard time hearing.
People like back in the room.
Oh, okay. I'm having, so you guys made promises to the Swiss. The Swiss didn't do this out of the goodness of their hearts. I don't know all the promises that were, I don't know, I haven't seen all the docs. I do remember, so I'm going on stuff that was told to me many, many, many months ago. But I do remember.
Okay, so there's a lot going on there. There's a lot going on there. Kyle Timur is in the building. What's going on, bro? Yeah, I thought this was 2014. Jody's here. What's going on, Jody? Legendary is in the building. What's good, bro? I don't know if he's going to get in any trouble. I really don't. Winston P. Prescott is in the building. What's up, brother? What's going on? How you doing, bro? And they went after Ripple. Auntie Val is in the building. How are you? Yeah, we haven't even gotten to the part. I don't know, but I'm supposing it's somewhere along the line of this 3 hours that they started there were actual conversations about going after Ripple. I would imagine. I haven't heard it yet. I'm listening to this just as you guys are, but this is some craziness. Oh yeah, Winston. He's Stephen is giving them the business, as we like to say. I mean, yeah. Has anyone, Jody says, can Ripple use this to counter if it goes to trial? I don't know, Jody. I haven't heard the Ripple thing yet, so I don't know what the context of what they're talking about. Has anyone listened to this whole thing, or maybe 2 hours of it? Anybody? Anybody? That's right. They do cheat.
World is talk that talk.
They do cheat, man, for sure. Legendary says negative. Not me. Okay, well, let's keep listening. Let's keep listening. Let's see if I can't find it. All right, let's keep listening to this. It's crazy. Now, do you guys prefer this picture or looking at the script? Auntie Val said, heard about 2 hours this afternoon. Oh, nice, Auntie Val. Appreciate that. Now, did they bring up Ripple in that first couple of hours, Auntie Val? Was Ripple mentioned? Legendary says script. Cool, cool, cool. Was Ripple mentioned in the first 2 hours, Auntie Val? Brought up XRP briefly as well as Ripple. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Auntie Val. I appreciate that. All right. Let me get here.
Remember, there was something about like 10 jobs being created. There shouldn't be any nexus. Really, everything should be centered in Switzerland. I would create a new I would eliminate your entities. You'd have to work with Jeff and Bert, and I could help you do all of this. Everything that I'm telling you is doable. It's going to be painful as hell. But what's more painful, and I've lived through this, is to see the whole thing go under. And I'm make no mistake about it. That's where I see this going. I don't see it surviving. And I don't really care what you launch. I just don't see it surviving. Because of the structure is, the foundation is corroded. It's a corrosive foundation. So, I would create a new for-profit entity in Switzerland. I would eliminate Nexus with every place else, and then I would center everybody in Switzerland. For now, over time, we can find a broader structure. Anybody who doesn't want to go to Switzerland, that still is part of the organizations, like part of the dev team. I would need to move to Switzerland if they want to be part of this. It's as simple as that. He says, look, we're going to move to Switzerland for the next 6 to 12 months, and then we'll reevaluate at that point. But you got to make good, and we have to really look at what was promised to the Swiss. You need a CFO. I happen to like Hai a lot. I happen to think Hai is bright. And so this is not a knock on Hai. I think it was a really generous thing and really good that Anthony sent him around to try to clean up the books. But you need an internal CFO. It can't be like some guy coming in and cleaning up the books. You need a guy that would have been on top of, and you need to cut your burn rate. I don't know what it is right now, but you need to get it down to like under 100 grand, under $100,000 fiat per month right now. You need to cut out whatever's in development that is not part of the core product. You need to get back to an MVP on 1.0. You can't, I do remember there was talk a while back about varying browsers, and I don't understand all of it, but varying standards and different languages and what have you. And you just don't have the luxury of doing all that. You're not Google, and you can't do it because somebody likes a particular technology versus somebody else. Somebody has to make a call and say, this is the one we're going with. And so I'd have to get more granular on that. And I'm happy to send you, for example, my CTO, or I would get, for example, Eric Anderson, or somebody like that. And we between us, we know enough people that we could get somebody to really come in and do a full evaluation of the technology and really slice and dice and get rid of everything that's non-essential. And I can't imagine there isn't a lot of that out there. This organization is in like five continents right now. That's craziness. I mean, it needs to be in one country. Everybody needs to be in one room. I mean, it just can't be. You're not going to be able to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. And besides which, there's too many regulatory and legal hurdles that you can't overcome by doing it that way. So I would renegotiate all. I don't know what agreements you have with other parties, with third parties that have come about, but they all probably need to get renegotiated between the Swiss entity and those parties. I would hire a new CTO that handles 2.0. Take your best programmers and put them on that. And then I would do then you can have an offshore development team that's low cost. So I've got, for example, I have a development team. Well, they're not low cost. The one I have in Canada is in Vancouver. They're not necessarily low cost, but I have another one, for example, personally for Cloud Park, I have a Serbian development team. And they're just incredible. They're just as good as anybody out there for 1/5 of the price. And they work their tails off, and they're loyal and they're amazing. And I've just had an amazing experience. So Serbia is one example of that. It doesn't have to be Serbia. That's one I happen to find. And I had contacts there. So that's one possibility. And they already have, so you may want to even contract with an independent development company and pay them, because they don't have a lot of overhead. And they don't charge a lot. So if it's $23, they'll charge $25 for that person, but they're in charge of those people. And those are the ones that, you can get those people to just do maintenance on 1.0 until you can get 2.0 out. So you get a really low cost team on 1.0.
Right. At this point, it's probably not worth it to restructure 1.0 too much, given that it's like 2 months away.
Well, I'm talking about maintenance on it. I don't know what kind of maintenance is involved in maintaining it. I don't know how long 2.0, how long it takes to get 2.0 out. So that's all I was talking about. In other words, maintenance on 1.0 as low as possible.
Well, the idea of getting developers in Serbia cheaply, I mean, that's actually a really great thing, and that's something that we could do completely separate from everything else we're discussing. So if you want to like try to help Gav on that somehow, that would actually be really appreciated.
Sure. I mean, all of this, I'm gonna throw all these out.
Sure.
And then we can go through which ones we want to do, which ones we don't want to do. You know, I'd like to keep the conversation between me and you. And then decide how you want to attack it. Then we can make a plan to attack that. I think Ethereum needs a total rebrand. It's really clear. You saw the article on CoinDesk a couple of weeks ago. There was nothing even in the article, which was fascinating. But on the top of it says, whatever happened, what happened to Ethereum? And so that in and of itself is telling you, and I've looked at the boards, and I've been to some of the meetups, and people don't know what the hell is going on. Your community outreach sucks. It's terrible. Now, I'm speaking from a real experience. I mean, I built some of the largest marketplaces in the world, and community outreach was a very big part of what we did. And so, think eBay. I mean, I offer community outreach is vital to the reason we became the third largest marketplace. It was one of the core components of it. And our community was evangelized and really was very aware of what was going on. And what we said, they weren't in a vacuum. Plus our partners were aware of what's going on. That was part of our community also. We had some very large sellers that were hooked into our API that were and these people were treated with kid gloves. I mean, I've heard about, I don't know the details of what happened with Eris. And frankly, I don't care about what the details were. All I know is I had heard about these guys a year ago, and almost a year ago, I don't know, it was maybe 8 months ago, and how excited they were and how strong they were. And I heard it from like 4 different sources. And now they're forking you guys. Something went really wrong for that to happen.
Right.
And I don't know what it was. I don't really care what it was, but whoever did it should not be talking to any partners in the future, because you had a company that really could have been your Microsoft, building your Microsoft Office, so to speak. And instead, now they're trying to compete with you.
Right.
Now, I don't know if that's probably too far gone. Maybe not. I don't know. So I think you need a total rebrand. I know there was a talk about doing a DAO, for a not-for-profit for 2.0. I don't know whatever happened to that, but I think that needs to get back on there. You need to bring in a consultant to evaluate the entire entity. So this I should have said up front. You need to bring on somebody. So that's maybe, potentially I could work with somebody and we could do a full evaluation of the entire company. But you'd want somebody that really, I can do a lot of it, but there's some of it that, you need some technical expertise. You need somebody that has some financial expertise. So you need a really small team to come in and do a real quick sweep through the entire company. And he's going to make some recommendations. And he's going to look for certain skill sets that the CFO, and then you need to hire a real COO. Bottom line is you don't have a COO, you don't have a CFO. The COO would have, forget about who has the label of COO or CFO. I know nobody has CFO or who has the label of COO. The bottom line is you've never had one. And nobody who has the skill set, nobody there has the skill set to do either one of those. And if I was building a company, there's nobody there that I would hire to do either one of those jobs. And those are those are actually more important for you right now than.
Okay, so a lot of rambling going on there. Let me catch up on this chat here. Let me go through the script and see if I can't get to, because he's got it labeled here, 1:45 conversation. Let's see if we can't get to where they mention XRP. Let's see if I can't find something here. This dude is just telling some serious truth. Charles looked at me and like, yeah, really? I said to Charles and Joe when they were leaving to go to Switzerland, I said, guys, I'm feeling Lord of the Flies coming on. Charles looked at me and said, yeah. And he's like, yeah, really? And Joe said, come on, Steve, you're just trying to scare everybody. I said, no, I'm not. This doesn't sound good. You can ask them. And that has it. You're still in the middle of the book. And at the end of the book, Piggy got killed. Okay. So he's basically kind of saying 1:55. So he was letting Joe and Charles know that things are not looking great from the legal and regulatory standpoint. Okay. All right, I'm looking. I don't see anything. All right, still talking about this corroded structure. Now we're at 1 hour and 10 minutes. I mean, this dude talks a long time. Maybe it's just different recordings. Then you can get included on board meetings. Twitter people F up, you're kind of prepared. He got something blocked out. It's interesting. I know it was really a small one that Blank did, but at least he's the one in this place who's actually built and sold a company. Interesting. He has that part blacked out. I'm trying to see if I can find something. I think it's interesting. He's got a couple of things redacted in here. Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it, guys. So if I can find something, I'd go to that minute and share it. And that's really answered a bunch of programs, diverse skills. Yeah, I didn't see anything. I'll have to go through it some more, but this dude basically was holding Vitalik's hand on, letting them know the business. Yeah, I don't see anything yet. I probably missed it. I don't see anything. But boy, this dude is letting them know what's good. CryptoCeej, where can we find the recordings and the script? All right, I'll put that in the chat. Eve should go to 0 any minute. The Steven guy sounds rather arrogant, in my opinion. Wouldn't want to sit down in a room with him too long. Yeah, I hear you, bro. Yeah, so he's giving them the business, and he apparently has a background in working and doing some structuring and restructuring. For sure. It was a very brief mention of XRP. Okay, got it. Thank you, Auntie Val. So this is basically about, look, you're in a world of hurt. It's obvious that you got some tax issues, legal issues, regulatory issues around the ICO. It's interesting that he pointed out that 9,000 people participated. I know of a couple of people who participated in that ICO. But he was putting the onus, for sure, he was putting that onus on Vitalik, but he's basically saying, he used the term tripwires that basically, yeah. Auntie Val says, yes, I noticed when a couple of names were mentioned, it went silent for a second. Yeah. So it's interesting. See, I'm trying to figure out if I can put the link to this recording in here for you guys and the script as well. I don't know why this chat is not caught up the way it should be caught up. What's going on? Let's see if I go to this one. Okay, there it is. Yeah, it's a bit lengthy. All right. And I think from here you can just download the script and from that page. There it is there. All right, guys, look, I just wanted to hang out with you guys for a bit and share this. It's been an hour. Talk That Talk Thursday about this is massively important, guys. Do me a favor, hit that like button. If you didn't do so on the way in, please do it on the way out. That'd be awesome. It definitely helps with the algorithm on YouTube. We always like to have just as many likes as we have viewers in the stream. Let's see if we can't make that happen before I get off here. But yeah, this is, and he has more stuff. This is just one of many things that Steven has. This is just one of many things that he has. So it's yeah, interesting. Absolutely interesting. And I think, again, he was really trying to point out here that there were securities violations. What's the deal with this arrangement with the SWIFT? What with Switzerland? What was this arrangement with Switzerland? I mean, what does that look like? What is that about? I was listening to Crypto Eddie this morning. I think she was on another show called Good Morning Crypto. And a guy said that he doesn't think Vitalik is going to get in trouble at all, that he just knows too many people. Bam Bam says, what's up, Ceej? Love the shorts, bro. Appreciate that. Keeps me in the loop. I appreciate that, bro. Yeah, I enjoy doing those little shorts too. So that's what it feels like. There was some violations. I don't know if this is just the beginning to some more stuff. I mean, this is just juicy stuff. Is That why they sued Lubin. Lubin he got sued by his own employees at another company for his other with I think that whole consensus thing and the way they try to resell that, and how they were trying to sell that. So I think that's why he got sued. But again, guys, this is just the first of apparently many things that Steven Nerayoff has. So stay tuned. But I just don't know. I think this guy that was on the Good Morning Crypto show with Crypto Eddie is probably right. That Lubin, again, we know the ties to China. He probably has too many political ties that can look out for him. I think a lot of this is going to speak to whether or not the SEC is going to go after Ethereum. That's, to me, I think is the thing that's most important. Law Doc says, I told everyone many moons ago they are all going to jail or should be. Winston Prescott says, Lubin has just a place to run and it's China, and it's China, they will protect him. Yeah. So that's kind of how I see it. I think everything really to me speaks to the SEC and why the SEC was complicit. SEC's and this whole ETH thing. To me, I think that's where the smoke is. That's where the smoking the fire is. To me, is that the SEC, not necessarily. I think Vitalik may be responsible for some stuff, but I don't think they're going to go after him. Lubin, he protected himself, I'm sure. But the SEC is the one who had the responsibility to look into the ICO, especially think about that. The ICO craze and how the SEC was, cracking down on ICOs. And this one this looks like perhaps the worst of them all. What's the theory on why and how Vitalik was so connected from the get-go, it seems. Yeah, I think that, that country that's not our friend befriended Vitalik from the very, very beginning. Why he chose to leave and go to China for those number of years is fascinating to me. But I think personally, he was seeking guidance, right? He was seeking someone who he felt he could surround himself that would be looking out for him. How, these early, and remember the early people invested in that ICO, there were people from China. I think he somehow they befriended him. And for me, just listen to this audio, you could tell that this was just a dude who needed some friends. You know what I mean? That's kind of what it seems like to me. Because again, he was supposed to, according to Steven, he was supposed to go work and build out 2.0, but instead he left and went to China. So gotta think about, why would he do that? All right, fam. Look, I'm gonna hang up. I'm gonna get out of here real quick. It's been a really cool hang. I appreciate each and every one of you checking in. Auntie Bao and Winston Press, all the OGs checked in. Keyless, Law Docs checked in. I appreciate you being here for sure. Legendary. Let's see. Did I miss anyone? Jody checked in. I appreciate that. Oh, I appreciate that. Phantom Beat, Alex G, and the Real Big World. I appreciate each and every one of you. Kyle Timor, the G-Dub Mastermind. I appreciate you being here, bro. All right, guys, look, I'm in this live stream like I do all of my live streams and remind you guys of this, that old money doesn't want you to win. But that's okay, though, because you and I, we're already winning. And perhaps, maybe, consider the idea or notion, perhaps ponder the idea of living your life permissionless. I'll talk to you guys soon. See ya. Bye.